But it was in good spirit. It was not malicious. And we are quite excited that finally tomorrow, Minister will switch off that button and in the ultimate end attend to the issues of road improvement in our province. Yeah, I hope I've responded to your question. Thanks.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Premier. Another round. You still have an appetite. There's a gentleman in a blue suit. I note you. I'll give Roy and the lady behind Roy another opportunity, and hopefully this is the last round. I think the appetite is waning now.
Good morning, Ziniko Mhlaba from Newsroom Africa. My initial questions were asked, but I've got follow-up questions now, especially to the Minister and the Honorable Premier. Minister, what lessons is national government taking from this process? One would say this is a bit confusing because we've got a national government that has its own arm twisted by provincial government in terms of expressing a lack of engagements between the two spheres of government before this process was started. So as national government, what lessons are you taking from this? Second question is, how binding is the memorandum of understanding between the province and the national government? And should the province not live or keep it at the end of its deal, what's going to happen? Are we going to go back to negotiations again? So I understand the memorandum of understanding is there, but how binding is it? To the Premier, Premier, can you assure the residents of Gauteng that at no point will basic services be affected by your agreement to the national government? And going forward, should those plans that you have in terms of approaching other financials, should they not work out, how much of a priority will this money that has to be paid be as far as the provincial treasury and provincial budget? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Roy?
I just got two questions, they're not long. The first one actually does touch on what the previous question that was raised, and that was related to the lessons from government, and I want to take it a little bit further. What is it? Do those lessons actually include the fact that urban tolling, there's resistance to urban tolling because it also means it increases the cost of people going to work, and that where there's the CEO of Sanrail said on long distance tolling there's a 99% payment rate, so there is a lesson there. Just if they could explore that aspect. There also is one other issue, and that is why was Gauteng singled out for e-tolls? At the time, Lau Konemeier said that the investments had to be funded somehow, and they were related to the 2010 World Cup. But there was other road infrastructure that was developed around the country. But those provinces were never, they never had to introduce e-tolls. Why was that?
Thanks. Let's take the last question.
Thank you. It's Diabo again from SABC TV News. The question is to the Sanrail CEO. Seeing that now this position has been taken, can you confirm the number of kiosks that you have created as Sanrail that were obviously taking care of the whole e-tolls project? And if you can confirm that because of this decision, jobs will not be impacted by those that are working there, obviously increasing the number of unemployed people in the country. Can you give us that undertaking that operationally things like job losses will not be will not take place because of this decision? Secondly, Minister, this one is to you, slightly unrelated to e-tolls, but could you just give us an update on the new driver's card license pilot system that was started at the end of last year in November and was supposed to be finished on the 31st of March. What's been happening there? Have you appointed a bidder? very little information has come forward about what is happening with the new driver's license cards and that pilot. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's have the Minister and then Premier and then our CEO. Thereafter, DDG Hlabisa will come back to the podium and wrap up.
Thank you very much. What lessons have we learned as National Department of Transport? First, we've been having tolls in South Africa for a long time. And we have been having the conventional tolling system in South Africa, and people have never been against that. The fact of the matter is we introduced the electronic tolling, which of course was urban tolling again. And I think the lessons that we can actually learn from that is the fact that maybe we needed to explain even more. Because as and when the matters were raised, you could actually realize that it's like we're introducing something that South Africa has never had. As a matter of fact, we're actually saying we're moving forward in terms of technology. Whilst we are used to us passing through that toll gate and so on, opening the boom gate, but we can do it electronically. That's the difference. Because the other one is manual, the other one is electronic. And that is all. And we had actually looked at the traffic on the roads that were being tolled, particularly the urban roads. And we're seeing that, but if you're going to install or erect the manual type of or conventional one, it's going to create traffic jam. In fact, it won't happen. So the electronic one will therefore work. But of course, the people said, if it is electronic one, it's us who must pay. We can just decide not to pay. So we pay because we've got to open the boom gate. But if we are to make it ourselves, we may not pay. And that, I think, is the lesson. To say, going forward, if we are to consider tolling any other road, remember of the total network of Sanral, which is 24,100, it's only about 4,000 that is tolled. The rest is not tolled. But that money which we collect from the tolled roads, it helps Sanral to attend to non-tolled roads as well. But unfortunately, you can't use the non-tolled portfolio money on tolled road. You can't reverse. That's the problem. It will be an irregular expenditure. And that is the lessons that we have learned. Because I still believe that as South Africa maybe, we still have to engage on how should we fund our road infrastructure. That is an important discussion that we need to embark on. And I think when we do that, we'll have to consult and to explain and to explain. To say how must, if we are to have our road infrastructure being what we need to see, how must we fund them? There isn't any country in the world that only depends on the money that they get from their national treasuries like we will get from the fiscus in South Africa and have good roads. We have, for instance, for provincial roads this year, is 15 billion rand. Of that 15 billion rand, 3 billion rand is for Welisizwe bridges, and therefore the money that remains for the 9 provinces is about 13.6 billion rand. Is it enough? Definitely not enough. Because just one road from KZN to Richards Bay will actually take all that money. So it's important that as South Africa we begin to discuss that, to say how must we fund, what must be the better funding model for our road infrastructure. And I think as we do that, we'll have to consult and explain these things to the extent that people understand them. Otherwise, it was just the electronic way of tolling the roads. That was the difference, and that is all. And therefore, for me, the lessons that we have learned from this is that if we are introducing something that might sound and look very new, it's important that we walk with the people until they understand what we are saying. And if they do that, then of course they will be prepared to support what we are doing as government. How binding is the MOA? Is a legally binding MOA. Legally binding. no one from us can actually renege, not even the province, not even the national treasury can do it. In an event, you've said, the province of Gauteng decided to renege, the conditions there. It's clear on what will happen. Remember, we transfer the provincial road maintenance grant to ourselves as national department to the provinces, and therefore it will be easy to recoup our money from that. It's as simple as all that. Was Gauteng province singled out for it all? People just objected to it at the beginning of it. Whether we're going to proceed and introduce it elsewhere, but when people said, no, we don't want it, you couldn't even think about any other province. And that is why we couldn't even proceed with it. And therefore, it was not a matter of being singled out. But I think, as it was mentioned, it was also talking to what was going to happen in 2010. The number of stadiums, the number of games that were going to be played in Gauteng, and therefore the need for us to add lanes. Those roads are paradise roads. They're beautiful, they're there. We have that infrastructure, and I think it's one other thing that we might have to consider and to appreciate, that despite these difficulties, but we do have that infrastructure. It has led to that mall, the Africa Mall, and many other investments that have happened. And I think it's something that we will have to appreciate. I think maybe the last question I thought would come from yourself was whether I was dressed to kill for this one. Thank you.
Indeed, Minister, you're dressed to kill on this one. It's a very important occasion. Thanks, Minister. Well, the question whether our financial arrangements will affect service delivery or basic services will be affected by the Memorandum of Agreement, no. And that's the reason why there was this huge delay. We would have loved to have made this announcement about the removal of e-tolls almost a year ago. But we needed to prioritize service delivery, because we'd have just been excited and say, we've reached an agreement, we'll pay this amount, we sign. But we have to be clear that if we have to sign and the amount of money is deducted, I can tell you, it was going to be catastrophic. There are many projects that were underway within the health infrastructure development in particular, and also education, the roads that we needed to build as well, and many other things. So we have to take a step backward to say, how best can we stagger these payments in a manner that does not affect service people. So it was on the basis of avoiding service delivery that we had to have these long discussions and debates on this matter. So where we are is not going to affect service delivery. The only thing, obviously, is that if you have to take out 12 billion from your budget, one way or another, you have to prioritize other things. It's inevitable. Our focus point now is on things that are not affecting service delivery. And that's the area that we want to. Earlier on, I think there's a question that I missed, whether motorists are still expected to pay. I think the team answered it. Come midnight tomorrow, we are relieved. I know the minister and the team don't want to do this. I want to do it, Minister. I want to be sure midnight, indeed, this thing is off. I want to go there and see it's off, so that I'm satisfied that indeed it's off. Not that I don't trust you, but I'm from Wibona, but this thing finally is off. We spent sleepless nights on this thing. So we want to see it at midnight tomorrow. So thank you so much, Sabonga. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much, Premier. I think taking cue from what the Premier just said, I would request the Minister to come back and sum up everything for us. And I know, Demana, there were some technical questions that were raised. I think you did respond to them. I think you did. But we just request the minister to have the very final say, and also some marching orders and the word of thanks after that. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Thank you very much.
Yes, no, thank you very much. I think I forgot to respond to the question on the driving license card. We're at the tail end of the procurement process. Because the team that is busy with that had to travel to France to see for themselves the machine and so on and so forth. I wouldn't want to go into details about that because I'm not supposed to be in the bidding process at all, but we're at the tail end of that. I can tell you now that before the end of this month, we'll be printing new driving licenses, and we'll launch at least the first 100 per province, and we have said that. So yes, we are actually moving in that regard. Okay. We do invite the media to our switching of the gateways for the purposes of e-tolling collection tomorrow at 23 hours, 59 minutes, and 59 seconds tomorrow, so that all of us together, we say we've made history. You've been with us for the good, the bad, and the ugly reasons. And therefore, you can actually sacrifice your time tomorrow and join us again. I think, honestly, it is again proper that we thank South Africans for supporting us and for being patient with us. This was not an easy process, I must say. There was a contract where it went out to borrow money and signed and entered into a contract with conditions. And for South Africa to then renege or to be reneging on that was not an easy thing. And therefore we had to move, and with caution, but with the aim of doing what us South Africans want us to do. And we are where we are today. Thank you to South Africans for their patience. Let's pay for services, whether it is electricity, whether it is water, whether it is road infrastructure, whether it is anything. I think it will be important that we pay for services. But of course, we'll also consult you, because we are a government that listens when people speak, particularly if they are South Africans. I wish you all a safe journey back to your homes. Please be careful on the road. Don't make mistakes. Don't rush, don't speed, don't drink and drive. People speed on our national roads that are beautiful. And as such, good as we benefit economically out of those roads, but we're also losing a lot because of the number of accidents that are happening on our beautiful national roads, even as you compare them to the most pothole-riddled roads. Please be careful. But we thank you again. I thank you, Premier. I really want to thank you. In absence, I want to thank the Minister of Finance. I want to thank the Cabinet of South Africa, led by the President. I want to thank SANRAL Board and Executive, the Department of Transport, DDG Hlabisa in particular. Really, he's been there. I want to thank all of you, the media, for the questions that you have asked. They kept us on our toes, and we therefore had to deliver. And therefore today, if there's one thing that makes me happy, is that we are where we are now. Gantries will be switched off tomorrow once and for all. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. I think now we are going to have a photo shoot for the leadership right here. They will stand right here. It's nice background. It's a nice background. We can do the photo shoot here. This front table. That will be good. And then after that, I know that the media houses normally expect the one-on-one with the leadership. Will be afforded those kind of an opportunity if you so need that. So they are there, they are here. But I think you've answered all your questions, and you've asked and answered all the questions. But you still have one-on-one. Please, let's afford that opportunity. Thank you very much. Can you please, the photo shoot colleagues, this side? Yes. Oh, okay. Hassan, that's it. Please align leadership. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, colleagues. Thank you very much. Brilliant.